Well, good afternoon, and thank you again for choosing to be with us today for the unveiling of this exciting new product, the 3277 from Ludlum Measurements. I want to welcome you today to the webinar, and due to time limitations, we will be talking about the 3277, but for today, we're going to dive into the 3277/1. I want to take this time to let you guys know to send all questions or comments to the question mark icon, and we'll get to those toward the end of the webinar. So right now we're going to dive right into the 3277/1. The model 3277/1 is designed for frisking personnel and or objects for alpha and beta contamination. This instrument can either be set up as a desktop unit or wall mounted. The model 3277/1 has a 7-inch colored touchscreen LCD display. This instrument is easy to use with minimal training required. Setup of the instrument is accomplished through the touchscreen display, and the display also allows the alpha and beta readings to be shown simultaneously, as well as other information pertaining to the instrument's operation. The detection circuitry of the Model 3277 is powered by our popular Model 3002 mainboard. This board allows calibration to be completed via our Ludlum calibration software through the USB connection on the top of the unit. The dual-click audio enables the user to easily distinguish between alpha and beta counts, and the 3277 can communicate through a standard Ethernet connection for remote monitoring on a PC. The Model 3277 is equipped with a micro switch on the detector cradle that activates the audio and background subtract when the detector is lifted off the cradle. This unit is operated from a 120 volt outlet with the use of a 12 volt DC transformer and can operate from 32 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. A built-in battery provides the 3277 backup power for approximately 8 hours of operation. The instrument includes a charging circuit to keep the battery refreshed, as well as a low battery indicator on the LCD that'll warn you when there's less than 2 hours of battery life remaining. This system typically comes equipped with a Model 4393, the 100 square centimeter alpha beta detector. Since this is a scintillation type detector, there's no gas flow system required to operate this system. Other detectors are available, including the Model 43-147, the 200 square centimeter alpha beta scintillator. And right now we're working on other designs of the 3277. These new units can incorporate gas flow detectors for those that prefer them. We are also working on a unit that incorporates hand and foot detectors, which can have a separate frisker for frisking purposes. And also in the works are other variants, such as the one that has 2 hand detectors, so both sides of a hand can be measured simultaneously. That's just a little overview of the 3277. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you the project engineer for the 3277 family of instruments, Travis Ray. Travis has been with Ludlum Measurements for 7 years, and he graduated from Texas Tech University with an electrical engineering degree. This time I'd like to turn the presentation over to Travis, and we're going to dive deeper into the 3277.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Well, to start with, let's just go around the outside of the instrument. Basically, Ryan already described, you have your connections on the bottom for Ethernet, power, and the detector. On the side, there's a power switch and LED indicator. And then when you pick the frisker up, the unit will activate audio and remove background audio or background counts. If we switch over to the screen, I'll kind of give a little more detail on that. So I'll just go over the main display here. In the top right or top left-hand corner, the header, you'll have the date, the current version of the operating system, and the battery voltage. This will indicate if it's charging or nearly low, or if the battery's low or running on wall power. In the main display section, in the top left, you have the current operating mode, and then you have the readings for each detector. In the case of the /1, there's only one detector, and something like a 3277 hand-foot monitor, there may be 3 detectors running at the same time. And you'll see all 3 of those at the same time on the screen. On the right side of the screen, we have the settings button. These are the touch controls. The next button down is the acknowledge button. That will acknowledge the audio from an alarm. The next button down is the click audio. If you click that, it will cycle between click audio being off and on. The next button down is the background subtract, and that will subtract the current background from the live readings. You can't do it in the idle mode, so I can't show it right now, but that's that button, and it indicates the current state of it. And then the last button on the bottom right is the mode button. So if I click that, it'll automatically jump into count mode. It's configured for a 5 or 6 second count. It'll automatically start it, give you the results, and then you can acknowledge that. So if we go back to background. All right, so this is the idle state again. That's the general operation of the unit for most users. I'm going to go into the settings menu and show some of the settings in there. So to start with, I'll go in as the administrator user. And I'm just going to kind of overview some of these settings. So some of the more common things you might look at are the mute button, the subtract button, and the mode button. You can disable them so that the touch controls are not usable. It will still automatically switch between modes depending on the predefined situation. The next page. Here you can set the idle configuration. So currently it's set to be background average. That's the 5-minute rolling background that it has for the average rate. You can also select the background rate, which is a fairly instantaneous rate reading. And in here you can set the alarm points for both the alpha and beta readings for both for whatever the idle setting is. Next page. Minimum count time is only something that really applies to the hand-foot monitor, so I won't get into it here. And then the next page is the source check settings, and I'll describe what a source check is, or I'll show you a source check in a minute. But here you would set the amount of time that you count for a source check. You can combine the alpha and beta sources so that there's only one needed. And then you can pick the mode for the expiration. Currently it's disabled, but for this demonstration I'll set it to have a very short expiration. You can set it for expiring at a certain time of day or after a certain number of hours. So you may do something like 24 hours. Every 24 hours it expires. Or if you set time of day, you can set it to expire at like 8 a.m. every day. And then the next page, the last page is the time. This is just where you would set the time and time zone. So if I go back to the main settings, I've enabled the source check. So now the unit is unusable while the source check is expired. You can go into the settings menu again, or click the settings button, and this time go in as the source check user. And here you'll pick the detector you need to do a source check on. In this case, there's only the one. Again, on a hand-foot monitor, you may have a hand-foot and a Frisker, for example. So I'm going to pick the Frisker here. And then here we have each of the sources to check. Off to the left, they say expired, and you have the source, each source that needs to be checked. So if I click the alpha, the unit will ask us to apply a source to the instrument or to the detector. And once we've done that, you'll click the start button and it'll automatically start the count and then give you the results. So it was a 3-second count and we have 500 570 DPM for beta and 0 alpha. So I'm going to say that was a pass. We'll do the same thing for beta. Again, it asks you to prepare the detector, so then that's when you would put the source on it. Click start. It'll automatically start the count, and then again give you the results. And then the last one you'll have to do is the background. So if we start that one. This time I'm going to hit fail just to demonstrate what happens when a source check is failed. So over here on the left you can see the top two are passed, but the background in this case is failed. And if we go back to the main readings, the source check will still be expired basically, so it will be invalid. So the unit is not usable. If that's the case, you can still go back into the settings menu. Oop, too many. And select the Frisker again. And we'll do the background again. Start it. It'll run through the count, give us the results, and this time I'm going to hit pass, and it tells us how long that it's valid for. And over here, all of these now say current. So that means that the source check is basically in a valid state. If we go back to the readings menu, the unit is usable again. But since I set such a short expiration for this demo, in a moment here it will expire again. And at that point, the unit will have to have a source check performed again to make it usable. And I think that's about it. There goes the source check. Do you have any other questions, Ryan? Or
No, I think at this time that kind of goes over the specifics on the menu, the main functions of the 3277. This webinar is really meant to show this instrument to you guys and let y'all see what we've been working on. So at this time, we want to open it up to a Q&A session. If you have any kind of questions for Travis, be sure to punch your questions in there on the question icon, and we'll get ready to get to those. So
sorry.
Are there any questions out there? Okay, we've got one come in. Any sensor for starting and stopping monitoring? Counting time might change depending on the counting statistics. How is that incorporated in this instrument?
So that's more of a minimum count time application. The /1 doesn't really utilize that. What it does on the hand-foot monitor, there's sensors for both the hand and foot, one for each, and they will, whenever you activate any of those sensors, it stops updating the background, and using that background value, it will calculate the count time required for whatever settings you have specified for the count, and then perform the count when you activate both sensors.
I've got another question that says, how is the instrument calibrated?
Using the Lumix software, so you'll have to connect through the USB port to a PC using our Lumix linker calibration software. It's just like calibrating a 3002. It's a board from a 3002.
So the USB connection is, you can't see it on the screen here, but there's a USB connection here on the top where the handle is, and that's where you'll connect to a computer to connect through the Lumix software to calibrate.
Any other
questions?
Any other questions out there? Not seeing too many pour in today, but again, if you have anything, make sure you post it on here. All right, here we go. Here's one. Are any of these currently being used in the field? Where are they being used?
Just purchased how many of those?
Yeah, they're, well, what, 90?
90 something?
Yeah, 90 something of them we're about to ship. That's the first batch of these /1s actually, that are going out to customers. So that's the current state of them. And then the hand foot monitors. I don't remember how many they have.
10.
There's a facility that has 10 or 15 of those.
Is the minimum maximum activity you would recommend for check source? Are there any limits we need to consider, dead times, etc.?
Say that again.
Is there a minimum maximum activity you would recommend for the source check? Or check source?
I mean, that's something we usually, I think, try to have each facility come up with their own requirements for those. We usually try not to create recommendations for those just for liability reasons.
The source of verification comes with the equipment? The source of verification?
Oh, no, it's not part of the standard equipment. I'm just gonna turn this off for now. The source check, that's something the user would have to provide on their own. Or, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if we don't have the correct sources, we can guide you in the right direction on check sources for the instrument. One thing we do want to recommend to you guys, if this is something that piques your interest, is something that you think would be valuable for your facility, your location, we encourage you to reach out to your local rep. Many of those guys are on here today, and they can get you information on the 3277 family of instruments, and we can even work on getting some demos in your hand for these. So I have one here that says that I can see that the display is in CPM. Is it possible to display becquerel per centimeter squared or becquerel, etc.?
I think you can set it to becquerel. It's limited to the settings you can set on a 3002. Because whatever settings you set for the 3002's calibration, that's what this will display. 3002s don't currently have a becquerel per square centimeter specifically. I believe they have a becquerel.
It does have becquerel.
DPM, becquerel, CPM.
Is it possible to attach multiple detectors to have it operate as a hand and foot monitor?
Well, yeah, so there's not exactly the same unit. There's a slightly different box that can have up to 3. One for a hand, one for a foot, and then the third one for Frisker, which is what we were showing earlier. That's the standard hand-foot monitor. The Frisker is an extra one, so it normally just comes with 2. But
so yeah, it's a little bit different configuration. It'll be on a stand with a hand and a foot, and then the Frisker would be an additional to that unit. All right. Any other questions out there? I don't see any more popping up. So at this time, I'm going to conclude the webinar for today. Again, thank you guys for being with us. We know you guys are busy. We really appreciate it. We're excited to get these new products out, demos in your hands. And again, we're ready to start traveling. We hope to see you guys soon. It's at a show coming up. So reach out to us via the sales department here in Ludlum Measurements. Oh, one more question. I'd like to know more about the hand monitoring portion. Any sensor?
Well, again, there's not one on this unit. The hand-foot monitor has 2 IR sensors. You would put your hand on the detector, and just above it there's an IR beam brake sensor that you have to break, and that's how it activates that sensor. If that's what you meant.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, that's on the other unit of the 3277. We can get any of this literature into your hands. If you will, just reach out to our sales department or your local rep. We'd be happy to get you that information. So right now we're gonna sign off, but thank you again for joining us today, and we'll be doing this again soon. So take care, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.